Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to EdTech Wednesday. Today's lesson or presentation is Create Your Own Gem, Lesson Gamifier. And my name is Maribel Martinez, alongside Mr. David Villarreal. We are your secondary integration technology specialists. If you're here to learn how to gamify your lessons with Google Gem, you're in the right place. Get ready to turn your lessons into more gamified versions. For today's presentation, we have a QR code to get a hold of today's presentation to our slides. Mr. Villarreal will go ahead and drop the link to today's presentation in the chat. He's also including today's PD session number. Some housekeeping items before we start. Please remember to keep your mic muted, register through the PD system. The link is in the chat. Drop your questions in the chat and use remote check-in PSJA Tech. Okay, today's objectives, you'll learn how to write simple prompts that turn your lesson content into fun games, either through code or an actual face-to-face, hands-on games in your classroom. You'll generate a game from a prompt and use the preview feature to test it out. We'll embed the game's code from the canvas directly onto a Google site, and we'll publish the Google site to make the game live and accessible for students to use. Okay, I usually have a quick poll, but for today I have a quote. The quote is, AI can never replace the expertise, knowledge, or creativity of an educator, but it can be a helpful tool to enhance and enrich teaching and learning experiences. And that is straight from the Google for Education Guide, AI in Education. Okay. So what is a gem? Think of it as creating a specialized expert that's tailored to your exact needs instead of writing a long, detailed prompt every time you have a recurring task. You can create a gem once and it remembers your instructions forever, unless you go back and update it a little bit. It can change. For example, last week we had a session where we created a gem to grade essays. Mr. Villarreal will go ahead and put the link to that presentation from last week in our chat so that you can go and check out that video, because that's a more detailed video as to what a gem is, how to prompt and create a gem in Google Gemini. So what can you do with a gem? There's different ways you can use it. You can create a writing coach. This is just an example. That gem will become your assistant to help you with style and tone when you draft emails, reports, or creative stories. You can also use it to build a code within a Google Gemini gem that understands your favorite programming language and assists with debugging, refactoring, or writing new code. Those are just some examples that you can use a gem with. Okay, so today, the two things that we're mainly talking about is the gem in and of itself and the canvas. They both work together in order to create those games that we want you to learn how to do today. A simple analogy of what a gem is when creating a game, it's your game designer. The gem will be your game designer, but the canvas is the actual digital workshop. They go hand in hand. The main job of a gem is to have that conversation with you, to understand the lesson, to write the instructions, which is the actual code for your game. And the canvas will take those instructions and actually build the game so that you can see it, test it, and copy it onto your canvas. So what you do within a gem is you talk to it. For example, you write your prompt, plain English. For example, create a vocabulary quiz for my 5th graders. And what the canvas will do, you interact more with it, you evaluate and refine that prompt to play the game live in the preview window just as a student would. This is where you'll spot things you want to change and see your requested updates appear instantly before you copy the final code. I am going to go through that with you, and you'll probably see my productive struggle, because sometimes when we create a game, it's not always the right outcome. You might want to go and refine it. Maybe a button doesn't work. So I'll show you how those things work in order to go and perfect those games. So what does a gem look like within Google Gemini? It's a chat window where you type your request and you get a response. And the canvas is a split screen view with code on the side and a live working preview of your game on the other side. Okay, so gem, canvas together. Okay, coding within canvas, how you use it is you click on the canvas chip in the prompt bar and you submit your prompt, and I'll show you how to do that. And a prompt for coding would probably sound something like this. I am a year 5 mathematics teacher. This is the actual prompt. Create an app to help students' understanding of fractions in preparation for their end of year exam. I would like it to show visual representations of using fractions with all operations. Example, you want to provide examples. Visually divide and multiply fractions and showing common denominators. I would also like algorithms showing the steps in adding, subtracting, dividing, and multiplying fractions, as well as algorithms and common denominators. Create a separate arithmetic section and reasoning section. That was a long prompt, but once it's created, it'll create this amazing game over here that you see on the side for your students to practice and learn more using a gamified version, right? So this one with codes, you create the actual app, okay? So when you are writing a gem, okay, make sure that you always use the appropriate framework. You want to provide the purpose, tell your gem what the role and play and how to respond. You want to be able to tell the gem what you want Gemini to do or to create. Give it the overall direction, provide as much background as possible, provide a step-by-step instruction, be specific when specifying the desired outcome, okay? And even you might not end up perfect the first time, go back and reiterate, okay? And this is what it would look like on Google Gemini, okay? This is where you create the gem. This is a lesson gamifier. You click explore gems, and I'm going to show you how to get there once we go live. In the left navigation side panel, select new gem. It has a little plus sign, and give it the instructions, okay? Here the instructions are: create a gem that helps me turn classroom lessons into short, engaging group games for 5 students. So now this would probably be that face-to-face interaction between students, and you're just creating games, right? Like a Jeopardy game or a bingo card, something like that. But if you want to make it into an interactive game on the computer, you're gonna have to use code in order to make it interactive. And I'll show you how to do that, okay? And when you're doing this at your files, maybe you have worksheets, maybe you have a lesson. Make sure to reference topics students are currently exploring or learning in your class discussion, questions or exit tickets, and game formats you have created before that you have used before in class. So what a gem does, like let's say you have been using the same Jeopardy game for the novel The Giver, right? That's just an example. But Instead of going to Teachers Pay Teachers or using another resource, you can create your own gem for the lesson you're covering or the story you're covering this week. It could be a bingo, it could be a Jeopardy game, it could be anything you want. But once you create that gem, you just go back and use it for any story or any lesson that you have. But it will already be created for you. Okay, so putting it all together, the process today is simple and always follows the same path. What I mean is, number one, we start with a gem to explain our idea. 2, the gem creates the code and presents it in the canvas. We use the canvas to test the game and copy its code. Finally, we take the code and paste it onto a Google site. So that's correct. We are going to use a Google site today in order to copy the code. We put it into our Google site, and there the students can visually see the game. Any questions? Okay. And again, here we have the framework for how to write a prompt. Make sure you always include the persona, aim, the students that you have, the type of students that you have, your class dynamics, the theme, and the structure. Okay, you can always go back and edit your prompt if it's not the outcome that you need. So let's look at some prompts that we created here today so that you can see what an actual prompt that will create a gem looks like in order to create the games. Okay. Mr. Villarreal will go ahead and put the link. You'll have a copy of this for a multitude of gems. You have about 3 pages worth of, not gems, I mean prompts that you can create gems with. Okay, so use this to create your own gem. For me, this would be the ideal prompt. Act as an expert instructional designer and educational game developer specializing in gamification for the classroom. Your main goal is to transform, and then you look at the content, the recipients, the theme. That should be able, you should be able to create a gem with this specific prompt. And here you have a Jeopardy game, choose your own adventure story, forbidden words, truth and one lie, classroom feud. So you have a multitude of prompts here that you can explore in order to test out those gems. Okay. Mr. Villarreal went ahead and put the link on there for you. Oh, sorry. Go back to my slides. Okay, so there's 2 ways to log in to Google Gemini. You can go to gemini.google.com, or my favorite way that I use is through my apps, and I go to Google Classroom. Let me get there right now. Okay, here within my apps, I'm going to go to Google Classroom. And here on the left-hand side, there's a little blue dot that has Gemini and the Gemini icon. I'm going to click on that. You can see all the tools that are available for educators free of charge. There's no charge for any of this. If you notice, it kind of looks like Magic School or other educational platforms that we have seen. And the way I get to Gemini, the Gemini app, is I start a chat right here. There's 3 buckets right here. You have the Gemini, the Google Gemini app, and you have the personalized Gemini for Gem, you need to have a prompt. It needs to be a specific prompt. You're going to click on Explore Gems and include this prompt. But before you do that, clean up this prompt a little bit. I just wanted to show you an example of an ideal prompt. Take out the lesson content, but you do want to summarize what the lesson plan is. If this is for a life of a cell cycle or a rubric in ELA, what is it that you want that gem to do or that game to be? Include vocabulary or learning objectives. You will also want to include the recipients, who are the students, ninth grade biology, ninth grade ELA, and include a theme for the game. The overall theme should be a laboratory. If you are, for example, doing the life of a cell cycle, or maybe an adventurous Edgar Allan Poe game show if it's something for ELA. So the tone should be adventurous and fast-paced, thoughtful and strategic, collaborative and encouraging, anything that you want to include. You are the teacher, you know what you want for your students to experience, so you can include anything you would like, but be sure to be specific. So here I've already summarized a little bit. I took out the extra fluff and included more of what I would put into my prompt. I make sure that I want that app to include trivia, challenges, or scenario play for ninth grade English 1 students. I have a diverse class of students that include emerging bilinguals and special education students. And the overall theme of the game should be an interactive game should have an interactive game show host, keep score. The tone should be adventurous and fast-paced, thoughtful and strategic, collaborative and encouraging. Okay, so going back here. I'm going to copy and paste this to Gemini. Game creator. Okay, so first, you go to gems. You're going to go to gems. Click on new gem. Game creator. I'm going to copy and paste, Control V. I'm not going to include any files yet. I'm just creating the gem. I'm going to save it. Now I want to start a chat because now I'm going to include a file to, so it's set every time you have a lesson. Maybe today you're doing a game for a rubric. Maybe tomorrow you're doing a game for vocabulary. It's specific for games. So what I want to include in here, if I'm doing a game for a rubric, create a trivia game app for this rubric. Okay, I'm going to click on the tools icon to turn it into Canvas. I'm going to include my rubric because I want to challenge my students to learn this rubric. This is my TEA rubric, and I'm going to say, go ahead and do this. This is where you can see the actual coding going on. It's working. You have a little circle here working at the top with a side gray speed right here, how it's working. Okay, so it stopped, and on the left, I can see what it did. It tells you it's the Glow and Grow Gauntlet. Based on the rubric you provided, the game show style experience is tailored to 9th grade students, the theme, the host, the objective, the tone. So this is what it created, and the code is on the left-hand side. Now I'm going to copy these contents onto my Google site. I'm going to open my Google site that I have already created for games. So then here, I'm going to create a page. Up here at the top on the right-hand side, you have Insert, Pages, and Theme. I'm going to click on Pages. I'm going to hover over the plus sign. Don't click anything until you get to Full Page Embed. And this was called the Rubric Gauntlet. I think that's what it was called. And I can go back and change the name if I don't like it, but that's what I'm going to call it for now. I'm going to click Add Embed, not by URL. I am doing it by embedded code. I'm going to copy and paste those contents here for the code. Okay, insert, Glow and Grow Gauntlet. Hey everyone, I'm Brex, the rubric runner. Let's play. Oh, first I'm going to change it to view so I can see what a student would see. Start play. And then here you go. You have the questions. According to a rubric, a well-done thesis, clear and developed, which thesis statement best fits the description of an essay about benefits of school uniforms? So here the student is giving a scenario and they're interacting with the rubric, selecting the best answer. So that is what the game would look like. Other games that I have created, Life of a Cell lesson. And this is, I've already worked it out, checked it out. It works. All the button works. If something doesn't work, for example, I think it was this one for history. What we were getting was every time all the answers were coming out on one of the buttons. So kids can figure that out pretty quickly. They'll know what button to click if it's like a pattern. So what I would do here is go back to that gem for this particular game and change it and make it more random, that your answers are in a random format so that students won't figure out the answers, right? So that's the only catch, that you really have to vet your games, your prompts, your outcomes to make sure that everything comes out correctly. Once it's done and you've tested it out a few times, once it's in the Google site and you've tested it out, then it's good to go. So just make sure to do that. Okay. Don't forget to follow us on social media, and we do have some door prizes. Thank you so much. Miss Salinas, aside from Miss Debbie, you're the only one here today, so we'll have a prize for you. We'll take it out to your school. Thank you so much for joining us today.